Hey everyone, my name's Cara, my pronouns are they, them, and the video you're about to see was recorded about a month ago. I had another one of those things where I recorded a whole update and then I didn't have time to edit it. Although looking back at it, I realized I actually edited about 3/4 of it before I stopped having time, so it was almost posted within a week, and then it's been over a month. I've finished it now. I actually re-recorded something earlier today that was going to be a different update to post instead, but then I thought most of it is still true a month later. So there's only like one thing about it really that I was talking about that is no longer applicable now, which is that one of the classes that I mentioned that I was working on is currently happening in real time. Like that class has started, so you can no longer sign up for that one. But the other one that is introductory, that is actually open to more people, that anybody could sign up for, you do still have time to sign up for that because that one's next month. That one's not till May. So I wanted to record this little bit of an intro just to let you know that's why some of the stuff is out of date. But there is, a lot of it is talking about stuff that happened in February that I still do want to share after the fact. So I looked back at it and decided, yeah, this is still a good video to share and just wanted to give that context. So here is that video and I hope you enjoy it. Hello everyone, my name's Cara. I was not planning on doing this video, but I am sitting here doing a little crocheting and I thought, why not vlog while I do it? For those who may not know me, my name is Cara, my pronouns are they, them. This is my main YouTube channel. I also have a second channel where I occasionally make time to play games and edit them. And I often talk about paganism and witchcraft topics here on this channel, but occasionally I bring up other stuff, basically just other things that I do. And so I don't think I've ever made a video about crochet. I'm not a crafting channel, but I am a crafty witch. I'm a crafty person, always been a big arts and crafts person. So I may have talked about the fact that I crochet, but I don't make videos about it. I used to make a lot of videos about t-shirt reconstruction or other things that I was doing. I used to be very involved in community theater. My degree is in theater, so I used to do more videos about that. So it's kind of just whatever. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of whatever to give you some context about what's been going on. My previous video on this channel was about my time blocking and figuring things out for my schedule this year, which I'm happy to say is still going well. There are things that I have not had time for, but not because of the time blocking not working, because of life stuff, and that's part of what I'm here to talk about today. So, I haven't done a video for a little bit until now, even though I was trying to start putting that in. Weekly time for editing and maybe every other week time for recording. I haven't had anything to record, so I've been skipping those time blocks, use them for other things, because I have a lot going on right now that I need to do other things that are a little more time sensitive. But also, even when it comes to editing, the last couple of weeks that I'm recording this at the beginning of March and the second half of February, really, was unplanned. I got a text. I received a communication a few weeks ago now. I'm gonna set this down for the moment. I received a communication a few weeks ago from my previous partner who lives at my old house. My dog, our dog, lives there with them. Doesn't live with me, still my dog. My 2 cats live with me full time. I'm gonna preface this for those of you who are worried by saying she's fine. She's doing great. So this is the story of how we got here, but don't worry, she's fine. Okay, so now that we know that, follow me back in time. I was told she suddenly got really, really sick. She had to go to the vet. They were doing x-rays, trying to figure out what's wrong with her. They suspected an infection. She's old enough now that for that size dog, she's considered a senior, which is wild, or at least an early senior, but a senior. And so they suspected an infection and she would need a surgery. And the surgery was really risky, but of course they went ahead and did it. They were able to do it that day and it went really well. So that's awesome. Thank goodness. It cost a lot of money, but some of it will hopefully be covered by their pet insurance, which thank the gods they have. But we don't know yet how much of it is gonna be covered by that. So we're just kind of waiting to see what's gonna get reimbursed or not. But in the meantime, I had to go out there to help because I can work from home, or from wherever I am in this case, but work from home, you know, the term. So I had to go and be there with her to be able to help with her medication schedule. She had various medications, more than a few. There are a lot of them, and some of them are once a day, some of them were twice a day. And for the first several days, she wouldn't really eat anything, so it was difficult to give her the meds, and so that was very stressful. But after the first few days, her nausea went away, so she started eating better. So after the first week that I was there, I wasn't there for the full week, but I was there for the better part of 2 weeks. I went there, I came back here for a bit to do some work from my setup because I had a lot of meetings and stuff, and then I went back out there, and now I'm back here again. So she's doing really well now. Most of her medications are done. They were things that she only had to take for 2 weeks. Some of them were slightly less than 2 weeks. There's one that she has to take for a whole month. So it's a lot less upkeep now, and I think the stuff that's left is basically stuff that she can get once a day. So they're able to do it even with their work schedule. And she's already had her appointment to go back and get it wasn't stitches in this case, she had staples because she's a bigger dog, but got the surgical staples removed and everything looks good. So very happy that everything is good. She's doing really well, but it was an unexpected thing that came up that became my priority, you know, happily. Like, I'm very glad that I am able to go and do whatever I'm doing from there. And I'm glad that even though I wasn't able to get a lot of things done while I was there, like I brought several things to work on. I was going to edit videos, did not get very much of that done at all because it was a lot more active care for her. But I'm glad that that is a thing that's okay. Like, there's nothing that I really had to be doing that absolutely had to be done that day or had to be done by me. So I'm grateful that that flexibility exists right now in my life. It comes at the price of being financially unstable, but like that's been my life forever, so what are you gonna do? Like, I'm just glad that I was able to be there to help out. So I enjoyed having that time with her. I usually don't drive anywhere in the winter because of the snow and ice and everything like that. But luckily, the universe was also conspiring in our favor, and the roads were clear for all of the days that I had to drive there and back. There were not snowy things happening. So all very lovely, thank the gods for that. One of the things that I did work on a little bit while I was there was this project. I am working on, for the first time ever, crocheting myself a wearable item that is a garment rather than an accessory. Like, I've made hats for years, I've made scarves, I've made hand warmers, I've also made things like bags and lots of other utilitarian sort of accessory items. Bags, pouches, water bottle holders. These, and I carry these around, I use them at the medieval fair, I use them at camp. I do not currently sell these anywhere online. I stopped using Etsy for many reasons. I would love to figure out another way that made sense for me, that was sustainable for me and how like my routine is to be able to do that for people, but shipping physical items to people online is something that is more difficult for me to do now than it was in the past. So I do sell some of my things like at camp, and when I go to events, I sell things in person, but I'm not doing like craft markets and stuff like that, as opposed to like my housemate, one of my friends who I live with, who's also a member of my community, is a working artist and goes to craft markets all the time, and like, it's so much work. And I got to help with one of those markets at the end of last year I mentioned in my year in review, but like, I cannot fathom doing all of that for myself. That's not my journey at this time, but I do craft all the time. So what am I doing now? I am, for the first time, making myself a cardigan, a long, flowy sweater with pockets in this case, because I know a cardigan is not always long, but for me, they often are. You also don't see below this part of the camera a lot of the time, so even when I'm wearing one of them, you can't tell how long it is. This is one that I love that my brother gifted me years ago. So I wear this all the time. It's nice and long. It's got big pockets. And this is about the size of the one that I'm crocheting right now. So I'm using a pattern that's from Happy Heartsy, and a friend of mine shared the pattern with us because it has moon phases down the back panel. So I've decided to do it in this heather gray. Here's one of the front panels already done, so you can see it, and that's about the length. I guess it doesn't actually look that long, but it will stretch a little bit. But that's one of the front panels already done. I started working on that because it's a solid color, and I didn't have my secondary color for the back panel yet, because I'm doing heather gray with black moons. And I didn't buy any black yarn because I have black yarn, of course. And so when I went to start the project and went to get out my yarn, I couldn't find my black yarn. And so I did have to go back to the store another day and buy black yarn. But in the meantime, I wanted to start it, so I started on one of those panels. And then this is the start of the other front panel. Let me show you the back panel really quick because I have made some progress on this. Oh, look, it looks so nice like that. So yeah, I'll link the blog post of the pattern creator so that you can see it if any of you are crafty and also want to do it. It's the All My Phases cardigan by Happy Heartsy. So I am carrying the yarn in between and you can see it a little bit, especially if you get up close. And that's okay, so that's a piece that looked really weird. That's a piece that I haven't woven in. So I have not woven them in yet, so it looks a little bit odd. But also some of those parts, it looks better on this side. Some of these pieces where it looks a little bit off, I think that's because of how I'm carrying the yarn. It's like pulling it a couple different ways. I figured out better ways to do that by the time I got up here, so we'll see. But basically that's it. This is gonna be the back panel, and that's the first half of it. So this is halfway through the full moon here is the halfway point of the back panel, and then we're gonna have those 3 moons again repeated. So I did start this sort of like right around the time I found out that I was gonna have to go out and take care of my dog. So I brought this with me and I did start that back panel while I was there. So I got a little bit of that done. But this has been really fun. I have not been able to do it every single day, but for a while I was trying to make time every day before bed as part of my wind down routine when I just relax, watch a couple of videos to kind of turn off my brain and get to do something else. And I would also sit and crochet. But then like for the previous 2 nights, I haven't had time to do that because I've been working really late on various things, or I'm just actually too tired by the time I get there. So this is the first time I've done any in a few days. The other major thing that I've been working on and trying to get done, well, first of all, let me start with my personal channel stuff. My second channel, I have recorded the final episode of me playing Barrow Hill 2, The Dark Path, and I meant to have that edited and uploaded 2 weeks ago, but that's the first week that I found out I had to take care of my dog, and so I brought my stuff with me and I was gonna edit that episode that weekend and get it uploaded. Didn't get to edit at all. There was just not time or capacity to do that while I was there. So that didn't get done. So that's why that's not already done, but I think that's totally fine, and I will get to it another time soon, hopefully. But other than that, the other big editing project is the Reclaiming podcast that I am the content editor for, that if you've watched every video on this channel, if you're all caught up, you've heard me mention at least a few times by now. But I wanted to have the current interview that I'm working on editing done so we could upload it to our Patreon by the end of February, but because of all this extra stuff that took up my time and energy and attention in February, was not able to get that done. So now that it's the first week of March, I'm trying to make a lot more progress on that because I'm a little behind where I wanted to be. And again, I'm very happy that these projects are community projects, that I am, I'm not explicitly a volunteer because I am getting reimbursed for some of the editing hours, but I have volunteered hundreds of hours to this project already over the past 2 years. All of the meetings that we had, all of the notes that I took, emails I sent, all of that type of stuff was all volunteer. So the actual hours that I'm spending editing, I am tracking, and we're posting the individual interviews on the Patreon for the podcast. And support from that helps to go back into the fees that we have for creating the podcast, some of which includes reimbursing me for my editing hours. I'm saying reimbursed, it's paying me for my hours, it's compensating me for my hours, but I'm saying reimbursed in the sense that I'm doing the editing now and I won't get paid for those hours until later, whenever the funds are available, and so it's after the fact, and not like a regular paycheck amount like 2 weeks after the fact. Like it could be months after the fact. So we're just tracking it now, and then I eventually will get paid back for those hours. So been trying to get that done. It's also Mercury retrograde right now, as you may know. So I've been trying to get that done. And this interview in particular, for whatever reason, when I've been working on this video project, none of the other video projects that I've been doing throughout the same time have had this issue, but this interview for some reason is giving me so many problems. There's so many glitches, there's so many crashes while I'm editing it, and so it's really like taking a lot to get through, and there's a lot of extra steps that I'm having to go back and do, but it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good when it's done, so it's very worth it. not cutting corners. I'm doing all of the steps, but it is taking longer. So I'm just trying to make a little bit of time, you know, even if it's every other day and I only have an hour to work on it, just, you know, render this part of it, fix that audio glitch, you know, whatever. If I can just get one thing done on it at a time, I'm just trying to make steady progress. So, and for those of you who may not have heard me talk about this podcast before, you might be a little bit confused about why I said it's going up on our Patreon, or maybe making some assumptions about that, like it's early access there, but then those interviews will be public. So the actual public podcast fully, like the public episodes, they are going to be like a more traditional sort of like documentary interview style where you will see multiple people, everybody that we interviewed for what we're calling season 1, answering the same questions in a single episode. And when I say see, because there will be a video component, but also you will hear, because it is a podcast, there will be an audio-only version. You will see and or hear and or see all of our guests giving their answers to the various questions. And so instead of what I'm editing now, which I'm calling phase 1, where we had one person in a call, interviewed them, asked them all their questions, and we're just hearing their stories. That's not the final podcast, but we are sharing those individual interviews on our Patreon as a little bonus exclusive for people who are able to financially support the project to help us keep going. And we're also sending that individual interview edit to that guest, so they will have access to their personal interview. And then, when I'm done editing all of those interviews, of which there are a dozen, I will then begin to splice them all together. So you will see all of the guests answering the first question, all of the guests answering the second question. And I will also decide at that point, after I've done all the editing and I see how long everybody's answers are to each question, I will be able to start determining how many questions can be covered in one episode. Because depending on how long each person's answer was, I might be able to fit 2 or 3 questions in one episode if we want to have it be an hour and a half max. But if we only want the episodes to be an hour long, I'm going to have to put less in it. And there's some questions that were pretty hefty questions and might end up like the whole episode is just hearing everybody speak to this one question. So it's going to be really interesting and fun. It's interviewing a lot of elders from the Reclaiming Tradition of Witchcraft. It's not the only reclaiming podcast out there right now, interviewing people and putting the stuff on YouTube, but the other projects are just posting their direct interviews, so they're up a lot faster. We started this project a couple of years ago around the same time that other people were starting to do the similar thing, but because of the way that our project is set up, the final product isn't going to be available for a lot longer. But I'm really excited about that. I love doing projects like this where it's cutting together pieces of different people talking about stuff. And we're also doing some interesting things with the bookend episodes. The introductory episode is actually going to be our Spiral Web podcast team, so like me and my other team members who are actually working on the project, giving a little introduction, a bit of reclaiming history, mostly as it is relayed in Starhawk's books. So like I've read almost all of Starhawk's published works. A lot of the basic history from the early years is contained in them, or in the Reclaiming Quarterly newsletters from the early years of the tradition. So putting together a bit of an introduction so that anybody who ends up listening to the podcast who's not familiar with Reclaiming can get a little, you know, here's a catch up. Here's what you missed in the past 40-something years of Reclaiming Tradition. Almost 50 years at this point, but not quite, but it is over 40 years. And we'll also talk a little bit about how the rest of the project is going to look, how the project's gone up to that point, and what people can expect in the season. And then we'll have all of the interview, collage, patchwork episodes. And then the final episode of the season is something that most of our guests were really kind of shocked and in awe of, because it just like, it sounds like such a wild thing that they've not really been involved with before, which is that we are doing a ritual, but it's asynchronous and I'm editing it together. And what I mean by that is, as we interviewed each of these people over the course of a year, from late 2024 through late 2025, we also asked each of them to record a piece of a ritual, whether it was casting the circle, leading a little grounding, doing the benediction at the end, invoking the elements, all the different pieces that go into ritual. They each recorded a piece of that completely separate from anything else at the end of their interview time slot. And so in addition to editing the interviews and putting together the episodes, I also get to edit together a ritual out of time. And the pieces were recorded out of order and, like I said, by all different people over the course of a year. And I will then get to put that all together into a form that is a final ritual. And the ritual also involves doing a spell. One of our team members wrote it, and we haven't recorded these parts yet, but our team members will actually be recording the pieces of the spell working and like guiding through people how to do that. So the idea is that listeners will be able to follow along. We'll tell you what materials that you need for it. It's pretty simple stuff, things that people should already have kind of around the house. And then all of our guests and members of our team will be able to guide you through this ritual that actually happened like over a year ago by the time you're going to be able to listen to it, and that it happened over the course of a year. Does this sound cool to you? Because it sounds amazing to me, and I'm really excited to be able to do that and see how it comes together. We recorded everybody reading the intention together, everybody reading the opening of the circle at the end, because there are many things that we could say when we're doing things in Reclaiming, but there are a few things that are kind of traditional at this point in the sense that we all tend to say them over and over. So we have a somewhat traditional, very common way of saying that the circle is open, and we recorded everybody saying that so that some pieces of the ritual will be a chorus of all of them saying it together, just like we would be if we were together in person or just synchronously in a call, I guess, but even with, without the audio glitches that come with doing that online. So I can't wait to finish it, and I know it's like so far in the future right now, but I'm really excited to see what all of our guests think about it when they see it come to fruition, because when we were asking them to record the pieces, they were like, okay, what? And so I'm just gonna do this part, and like, you're gonna do the other part later? I don't have to, okay, this is weird. But at the same time, just doing those individual pieces, we were all very like tangibly moved by the energy of that thing. That's like, even though we didn't do the rest of the ritual around it, there's a lot of magic just in those individual parts when said with intention, knowing that they are going towards something. Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to with that project. If you are able to support on its Patreon, I'll link it in the description as well. And of course, you can always support me on my Patreon and or on Ko-fi. If you support monthly via either of those avenues, you get access to the Woodland, which is my Discord server. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Discord right now. We're all still figuring it out. So for now, that's where my stuff is. And I will let people know if at any point in the future there is something else. Right now, I do not have other ideas or solutions. Other people in my wider community are working on it, so we will see what ends up working well for everybody. But right now, that's the best place to come hang out with me, spend some more time, chat about more things more often. You can also get a tarot and or oracle reading from me through my Ko-fi shop. And also right now, I'm organizing 2 classes that are the other thing that's taking up a lot of my time and energy. And I say that only to say that, like, a lot of time goes into these things. I don't mean it to be like that it's a chore or that I don't enjoy doing it, because of course I enjoy doing it. That's why it's the main thing that I do with my time. But I am getting to plan 2 classes right now. I'm teaching an online Elements of Magic, which is the introductory core class in Reclaiming. And we're teaching that online in May. It's me and my friend EmsIsFab, who's also a YouTube witch and a member of my tradition. We've known each other for years because of being part of the same tradition, but this is actually our first time co-teaching together, so that's very exciting. Elements is the introductory class, so it is a prerequisite for any additional classes within the tradition, but you don't have to have any prior experience in order to join Elements of Magic. And it's working with the elements is part of it, but it's also the elements of magic in the sense of the building blocks, the foundation of a magical practice. So we're going to be teaching a lot of basic practices that you can use to develop a personal practice or to begin a group practice. And we also talk about all of the steps that go into a typical reclaiming ritual, which of course, different traditions have different things that they do in their rituals, but the basic reclaiming format is very similar to my experience of a basic, like, non-initiatory solitary Wicca type thing as well. So they're very similar basic structures. If you were to go to a pagan pride ritual, It's that general concept. But also you get an opportunity in the class to actually practice planning in a group. And so there's a lot of different stuff that goes into the elements class. It's an introduction to all of those things. It's also an introduction to reclaiming culture and the way that we operate as a tradition. So it's a really great opportunity. And if any of you have ever wanted to take other reclaiming classes that you may have heard me talk about, the other class that I'm currently planning is a rites of passage class, which is online in April. But that one, you have to have taken an Elements of Magic core class in reclaiming prior. That's why Elements is a prerequisite to a lot of the other classes. So I don't usually talk about the other classes because I am aware / I assume somewhat that most of my audience are not already reclaiming witches, so you probably haven't taken a Reclaiming Elements of Magic core class in particular. You might know how to do a lot of the things that we go over in that class, but when I went to my first witch camp 10 years ago, I had already been practicing these things for about 10 years, and I still learned a lot by participating in that class, and it's because you're coming into a new tradition and a new community. We don't know what you know, you don't know what we know. So in order to kind of get everybody on the same page, we share some culture things that you might not be aware of, like coming into the tradition. There are things that we say and things that we do that if you're new, you might feel lost. Like, what is going on? What are you talking about? What are you doing? What does that mean? Speaking for myself, at least, when I have taught Elements of Magic and the Elements of Magic classes that I have been to, those things are all taught so that it's really a way of welcoming people in, explaining a lot of those things, getting us all on the same page, and having a common ground and a shared foundation for practice together so that if you go on to do something else, we all know that everybody has at least been taught those things and knows how to do them, and you've had an opportunity to do them in classes. So if you've heard me talk about like teaching classes and teaching witchcraft before and you've been curious, this is a great time because it's an online class. So you have time. You have time to sign up. It's a sliding scale. We can also do a payment plan, whatever. We want to be really accessible. And as somebody who needs financial accessibility myself, Ems and I are very flexible on that. We want you to be able to learn the stuff. We want you to come hang out with us. We want you to do magic with us. And so we want to try to make that possible. Part of the reason we have a sliding scale is actually so that people who are able to contribute a little bit more can help to balance out with essentially scholarship funds that are then awarded to folks who can't do as much. It's really community care. We're helping one another be able to do this work in a way that is more accessible in a financial sense. I always have to use scholarship funds myself. And a lot of the time that I teach, I don't get paid. It's very much like when I used to work in community theater that I really end up getting just kind of a small stipend for the amount of work that goes into it. And there are months and months of work before I ever see anything from it, if I see anything at all. So just know that when we say we want to try to make it financially accessible, we mean that. And if you're interested, please go check out the information on my website. You can read about it. Fill out the form. There's a spot to say if you need additional assistance or anything like that, if you have questions or comments, and then we will reach out. And you can always fill out the form and register, and then when we have a conversation, you decide you can't do it, then you can say no thank you, and then I'll just remove your form. It's not a total commitment, but and also, usually if you attend a camp in person or online, a lot of the time you would have the opportunity to take an Elements of Magic class as part of that event, and there are multiple events now where core classes are not being offered, so you won't always be able to take Elements of Magic as part of an event that you might attend. So this is why we're doing it separately and on its own, because if you are wanting to go to an event or take another class later in the year, you can get your prerequisite now, and then you can do other things in the future, either things that I'm teaching, things that my friends are teaching, things that are happening in a community near you, and I can also help you figure out about any of that stuff. There is a spot on my website to sign up for my email updates. If you're interested in getting email updates from me, I have not been doing vloggy type updates very much anymore. Earlier this year, or I guess actually at the end of last year, I started doing a little email newsletter. It's just about once a month right now, or a little bit more often if I want to remind people of upcoming things, like for example, when there's only a couple weeks left to sign up for a class, I might shoot you an extra email about that. But my newsletters, they're nicely typed out, you get a PDF copy of it and it's in the email, and I'm arranging it all nicely. I have so much fun doing that, but also like that's more of the official thing. I'm doing that about once a month right now, and then you might get additional more low-key emails, reminders, stuff like that in between, only when applicable. I'm not taking the extra time to spam you. So like you don't have to worry about getting so many emails from me. I just don't have the time. But I think those are kind of all the things that I have going on right now that I want to mention. Oh, and how could I forget? I'm also one of the organizers for one of those online events. I did it last year for the first time as an organizer. I'm organizing again this year. I've attended this event every year since they started it. It's an online event every year since they started it in 2020, but I've just been on the organizing side of it for the previous year and then this year. And there's a lot of work that goes into that every year, but also this year we've been doing extra stuff like going back over policies and updating them, like policies from the in-person camp, using them as a template and then adapting it to what is actually appropriate for the online event, because there's different guidelines and procedures and things that we need people to know for in-person versus online. Like if you go to the in-person camp, you're going to talk about sunburn and heat stroke and poison ivy and whether or not you can go in the body of water nearby, or, you know, stuff like that, like where the first aid kit is, stuff that is very particular to being at a camp in person, as opposed to online. We don't need all of that stuff in that policy. So we've been doing a lot of policy updates. There's other stuff that I was about to say, but I'm not going to say right now because it's not the case yet. There's stuff happening in the future, so I'll wait until it is presently true to bring any of that up, just in case, because you never know. But I'm also on the ritual team for my in-person camp this year, so that's already something that we're underway of planning, because that stuff gets planned months in advance before we get there. And I recruited the ritual team for the online thing that I'm one of the organizers for. So that ritual team is made up of all my friends. So if you want to get resources about reclaiming also, I mean, there is a public website, but specifically if you want to chat with me about it and find out like stuff that's in your area, I do not want people to post in the comments about where you are. So I have added a thing on my email sign up forms. If you go to my website and you click on, right now it's in the top banner. It may not be in the future when you're watching this video, but there is a spot on my homepage and in the footer. So it's always at the bottom of all of my web pages, but it's also on the homepage, a spot to sign up for my email newsletter. And there is a checkbox within that form to say that you would specifically like to chat with me about reclaiming resources or receive reclaiming resources from me. So you can go fill that out, check that box. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I'm going to continue working on this for a little bit, and then I'm going to do some reading, and then what do I have coming up? Wow, I actually finished this in the perfect amount of time that I wanted to start my little reading session for the day in 5 minutes. This is great. So I'm going to go do my reading for the early afternoon. It's so dark and gloomy, it's rainy outside, so it doesn't even look like early afternoon. And then after that, I have an organizing meeting, and then later I have another team call for something for our in-person camp. And then later tonight, I'm going to try to do more video editing. Let's see if I can get that Dark Path episode edited maybe, or continue working on editing this interview. And then tomorrow I have 2 class planning meetings in the same day for the 2 classes that I'm planning right now. And then Saturday I have a meeting with some of my community members, but otherwise I'm going to be working on, well, I had put recording videos on that day, but I'm recording a video right now, so that's done. Maybe I'll record playing a game for the second channel, and I have more personal study, reading, and personal practice on for the weekend. Feeling pretty good, and my dog's doing good. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Let me know if you're an arts and craftsy witch in the comments. What kind of stuff might you be working on right now? And if you're a knitter or a crocheter, how long was it before you made your first, sweater? Because I've waited so long. I've been crocheting since I was a child. I will see you next time, and until then, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye. Literally just about to take a thumbnail photo and it goes out of focus.